Hi, Diamond Girls. I'm so sorry I'm with you a little late. Today's live stream is all about, are your abandonment issues sabotaging your relationship, causing problems in your relationships, causing problems in your own life? And what can you do about it? What are the signs and the symptoms of abandonment issues? How did you get this way? And how can we heal inner girl? I'm going to share all of that with you today in today's episode. Make sure you stick around to the end, because at the end of today's episode, I'm going to give exact tips on how I healed my own inner girl, how I became a women's feminine energy dating and relationship coach, because I had to heal my own wounded inner girl. I'm going to tell you how I did it. And after all the therapies and everything I went through, I'm going to share exactly what worked the best for me in terms of healing wounded inner girl, so I would stop sabotaging my relationships, abandonment issues would stop ruling my world, real or imagined. I'm going to talk a lot about that today, and I'm so happy to see you all in the chat. Make sure you say hello to me. If you are new to my channel, again, I'm Adrienne Everheart. Feminine energy is what I focus on. If you're new to my channel, take a moment, hit subscribe. It means the world to me to know that you are one of my subscribers. Now, I will start off by telling you that for years, even early into my coaching career, which has been about 10 years now, I was really convinced that a lot of the problems I was having in my relationship was just totally masculine energy. But really, the deeper I dug, the more I found out that my wounded inner girl, and I discovered this, maybe a year or two into the process, wounded inner girl was driving the show. She was driving the car or driving the ship. And this goes way back to childhood. So during this video, as I'm relaying my questions to you and what I went through in this process and finding out how I was feeling abandoned, assuming I was abandoned, responding as if I was abandoned, but also attracting people, men and personalities, even friendships, personality types to me that were the type of people that would abandon me. So it was really confusing for years. I can look back on so many relationships I had and clearly see that I was actually seeking out people and relationship types that were prone to abandonment, whether they were narcissistic types or abusers or the worst, just plain out neglectful people. And I'm going to talk all about this. And again, stick around to the end, because I'm going to share all the tips and tools that absolutely help me heal my wounded inner girl. And this is something I do with my coaching clients. And this is something I'm going to help you with in this video. So the first thing I want you to begin to really understand is, if you're aware how your abandonment issues are affecting your relationship, are you first aware that you are sabotaging on some level your relationship, whether it's picking fights, assuming the worst, jumping to conclusions? And if you've noticed that trend, that you feel like you're a little bit to blame for why some of your relationships ended, or maybe you have a relationship where people have helped you, I have helped you, other coaches have helped you, and you totally are aware that, like, maybe this relationship is not meeting my needs, but the idea of leaving that person, it's nowhere in your train of thought. You can't even comprehend it, why you would ever, leave that person. So that's not even an option, because that trauma bond is so tight that that's not even an option for your healing. So that's why I give you a lot of things that you can start doing now that start to raise your awareness, start to help you heal what you can do on your end. And if that other person comes around, great. If they can heal what's going on with them, great. But most of the time we realize, like, wow, this is one part me, but it's also like, will that person change based on my new behavior, on if I'm changing my behavior? So when it comes to sabotaging a relationship, you may already know that your senses can kind of like get the best of you. And you might think you're like listening to your gut and you're listening to your higher self. But what you're doing is that abandoned, wounded part of you is picking up on nuanced communication, whether it's, a raised eyebrow, a little bit slower of a delay in communication, or if it's just a hunch you're feeling or something different has changed. You just start to feel something that something isn't right and you respond to it, you react to it. So while you're in this video with me, think about these things. If you have a journal, a piece of paper, write down anything that might come up, because I'm going to give you some exercises to do in this video process that are really going to help you begin to heal your wounded inner girl and these abandonment issues that you're feeling. So I'm going to tell you a true story. My siblings are 5 years older and older than me. So they had a different dad than I did. So they were actually out of the house a lot earlier than I was. And I was alone a lot. And I was a very lonely child. My relatives lived far away. We had people in our church that, I could socialize with and be with. But for the most part, I will tell you, I was very, very lonely. And it's probably no surprise that I had abandonment issues and I had attachment issues where I would get anxiety if I was separated from someone. So I still have that. I've talked about it before. I'll teach a class sometime and I'll end the class and I'll start to feel anxiousness over ending my class because I'm severing that relationship with people. And so I want to tell you, this is something I've had to work on for a lifetime to feel really comfortable and that I'm going to be okay and they're going to be okay because of that uncertainty I had as a child. Now, true story, I used to get so lonely, I would actually call the operator just to have someone to speak to. So I would pick up the phone and dial 0 to talk to the operator. And the cool thing about back then, when you had a phone in your house, is that you could hang up once one operator kind of caught on. I would call a different operator. But somehow one day I got the same operator twice. And she said, "Are you home alone? Let me speak to your mother." Because this lady could tell something was up. She could tell something was wrong with me. And I was lonely. And I was like, "My mom's not home." And she said, "You're too young to be home." And she was right. I was too young. I didn't need to be home alone. And I was suffering with it. So I ended up as an adult splitting off and becoming two different types of people. Either really needy, clingy, or I don't need anybody. I'm so tough. I'm so strong. I don't need anybody. Not needing anybody was way more easier for my abandonment issues. If I don't need anybody, I don't have anybody to miss. I don't have anybody to pine for, long for. But then eventually, I met a really good guy and I wanted to have him in my life. But then I would have like so much anxiety about, he was going to go spend the summer with his grandma in another city. And I would just be like in turmoil over this being away from him, that I would have to break up with him. And I would have to go immediately date some other guy to heal myself from that anxiety. So any of you that I'm possibly reaching you on that same level of being abandoned as a child, either emotionally, mentally, physically, with your parents, and how it overlaps into your relationships as an adult, please let me know in the comments if you had to call the operator to have someone to talk to, or how you would cope as a child being abandoned. What did you used to do? So when you were abandoned as a child, one way or another, even if other people don't think it was abandonment, if you felt abandoned, it was abandonment. Your inner girl, that wounded little inner girl, and I want you to hang with me on this because I'm getting to a very important point. Your wounded inner girl is not an adult. She's still a child and she will always be a child. She's not going to suddenly grow up and wise up. But here's the thing. She was a child, but she had to behave like an adult. She had to live in an adult world. She had to find ways to soothe herself as an adult would. So what does an adult do when we feel lonely? We pick up the phone, we call people, we start to network and find friends. I called the operator. I had someone to talk to. So you begin to see how, as a little kid, I was having to think as an adult. So I want you to think for yourself how, as a child, you had to behave like an adult. You had to read people around you. You might really needed to figure out how you would feed yourself a meal at night or how to get yourself to bed when you were scared. So it's a lot of coping devices that you had then as a child. Now, I really suggest that you know a few of those and know what it really meant to see a parent driving away, going down the driveway, and feeling this rush of adrenaline and fear. Like what that meant, because ultimately, at the core of all of this, whether you have a fear of flying, a fear of abandonment, a fear of getting in your car and driving, whatever that fear may be, it's the fear that my feet are not on the ground, that I'm looking into the eyes of someone I love and I need, and I'm feeling safe right now when they're with me. But I don't trust that when they leave and go away, they are going to at some point return. I don't trust that. I don't know that. That's where that fear comes in. So you get on an airplane, you trust that, okay, I'm going to go up and at some point I'm going to come back down. My feet are going to be on the ground and I'm going to go back to my normal life. You get in your car to drive. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to go a certain number of miles and I trust that I will still be whole and home will still be X number of miles in the other direction. You have that trust that things will return to a safe place. So if you are dealing with abandonment issues, you do not have that. You start getting signals from your partner and stressors, and you begin to think everything has changed. They're going to break up with me when I get home. He's seeing someone else. It's never going to be the same again. I'm not good enough for that person. You begin to have all of these fears. So be sure to hit me up in the comments if you can relate to this, because I am going to take some questions about abandonment at the end. So here's the big part I want to get to. Your wounded inner girl. Think right now for a moment, maybe your first real memory of being abandoned and being left alone and being like, what am I supposed to do? You might have even convinced your parents you were going to be okay. I know I did. I was like, I'm going to be just fine. I got TV to watch, air conditioning. I can make myself a bologna sandwich. I'll be just fine. But think about how old you were at that age. So just take a moment and inside your body, if you can feel that abandoned, wounded girl, how old do you think she is? And please comment in the comment section. I would like to know. So part of what your age is with wounded inner girl is that wounded inner girl is kind of stuck there. And wounded inner girl, if she's found a man, guess what? She's trying to have a relationship with that man. And here we go. We have a baby, 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 13-year-old, 6-year-old. Can a 9-year-old girl have a relationship with a grown adult man? Can a 5-year-old girl have a relationship with a grown adult man? Think about it. It doesn't work, does it? What happens if a 5-year-old is trying to constantly pull at a man to have an adult relationship with him? He's going to get freaked out. He's not going to know what to do with you. He's going to get scared. He's going to pull away and he's going to run because it's just too much. He can't do it. No, thank you. No, a child cannot have a steady, loving, long-lasting relationship that leads to marriage with an adult man if she is a child. I mean, in North Carolina, 14-year-old was the age at one point in time that you could, but they recently changed it. Like when you are a child, we're talking 5, 6, 9, even 13. I don't have what it takes to maintain a relationship with a man. So that's how old she is now in your body. So if you're having problems in your relationship, you have come by this totally honest. So let's talk a little bit about masculine energy's role in healing your inner wounded girl. Masculine energy will be a fierce protector of wounded inner girl. If any of you have had a big brother that, it didn't take much for him to get hot if somebody else started messing with you, right? So, or even if you didn't, you can imagine that masculine energy you have in you, that the minute this poor little wounded girl starts to go, this is wrong, I'm scared, inner boy will just stand up and do whatever it takes to take care of you. So now we're back to sabotaging our relationship. Now we're back to like our friendships and our relationships. How can we maintain them if every time wounded inner girl gets a little hint of being afraid and abandoned, this bully comes in and who's a young boy? So young boys can't reason for you. They can't fight for you. A young boy can't make a relationship work for you. Now, again, you've come by this honest if you're having relationship problems, if you've endured this. So let's talk a little bit about how I healed and how I teach this in my coaching practice. I teach this in all of my courses online and in the VIP library, which is something you get free with all of my courses. It's 20 plus items. I have a book in there called Healing Wounded Child. And it's yours free, as well as a ton of resources. So if you want Fem for dating, Fem for relationships, Fem Diamond, any course of mine, ABCs, New Man Manifesto, you get access to the VIP library. You're going to learn more about that. But let's talk about what I do with my coaching clients. So we're going to talk about healing. 2 words I want you to keep in mind when it comes to healing: connection, safety. The person I can connect with, I feel connected to, and I feel safe. Step 1, you got to feel connected and safe to lovely, amazing you. How do we do that? If you feel like you're in this hypervigilant, sympathetic place. So let's talk about your nervous system. How do relationships feel to your nervous system? When you're with your partner, are you comfortable, easy, and relaxed? Some of the time, most of the time? Or are you already anticipating the next time they leave? Now I'm apart from my relationship. Okay, where's my central nervous system at right now? Am I feeling worried? Am I feeling nervous? Am I feeling anxious? Are you going through a breakup right now? Talk about a constant state of nervous, anxious, wondering what they're doing. Are they seeing someone else? Are they looking at your stories on Instagram? What's going on? You begin to notice how your central nervous system is responding to relationships with other people. That's step number 1, is noticing my body is responding like there's a fire when really there's not a fire. So let's work on connection and safety to yourself. Step number 1. I want you to all take your hand, hold it to your chest over your heart, and I want you to just take a breath and ask yourself, am I safe? Right now, in this moment, am I safe? Is there any real reason for me to feel unsafe? Now, I'm not talking about what's going on over here in the story we're telling ourselves. And this is true even if you have a phobia. Am I safe? Is there a knife at my throat right now? Is there a dinosaur breathing down my back? Is there someone out to get me? Am I safe? Yes, you're safe. You're safe right now. You begin to have that connection to yourself. Am I imagining or sensing fear? Oh, yeah. He's on his phone. He's texting. I know he's texting someone else because he's not texting me. Am I safe? Yes, I am safe. I am safe. So, right there, we're building connection to you. As much as you can, make it your daily practice a couple of times a day. You start to feel that feeling, anything, then relaxed. Am I safe? Is there anything for me to be truly afraid of right now? So, now that you have that awareness, we're going to go to step number two, which is don't react. Don't react to the thing that you think might be causing you these feelings. So he's texting on his phone to another woman. Who are you texting with? Let me see your phone. I need total transparency in a relationship. So you're responding to that. And for a while, I want you instead to just attend to yourself. So step number two, awareness and attending to yourself. Oh, I have noticed that for the past 3 dates, he's canceled on me. What do I need for me? Do I need more things to do? Do I need to start making some new friends? Do I need to join a social group or an exercise group or take a class? What do I need for me? We're going to attend to you, right? The next one is going to be how can I provide safety to myself? So, all of you in the chat right now, how do you feel safe? How do you know you're safe? What does it feel like to you? What do you experience? What's the location where you feel safe? Where is that place at? Is it at the beach, the park, on your sofa? Let me know in the comments where you feel safe. You want to get in touch with what that feeling is of safety. How do you know you feel safe? Your arms, your legs, your head, the parts of your body. How do you know that that feeling is a feeling of safety? Step number four, now that we're connected to yourself, now that you're feeling safe, you have some idea of it, and you're not responding to those feelings, you're attending to yourself. This next step is going to be, is this relationship actually meeting my needs? So often I work with women who want to really repair their relationship and they want to help it grow and heal, but their partner doesn't really have what it takes to give them what they want. So I talk about my first husband a lot, and he was a workaholic. And he didn't have that capacity to even give me enough 101 time because when he wasn't working too much, he had to then answer to his family of origin and he had to be with them and make sure they were okay. And I came dead last. That relationship would have never long term worked for me. Would it work for someone else? Yes. Someone else out there is willing to just see their husband an hour or so a night, and they're fine with that. They have such a life and so many different interests that they don't need that. Hey, if it works for you, great. Didn't work for me. So you may be in a situation with a man that he just cannot meet your needs. And this next part is, am I demanding too much of anyone in my life? Is there so much that I need that no one can actually give it to me? And then that makes your partner, this goes back to wounded child pulling at the grown adult man. He just can't give you this much. He can't give you all of those things that you need. So start to take a really good look at that. Now, these last two are super important. Number 6 is notice when wounded girl takes over. Notice when she hijacks your thoughts. I want you to imagine you're in a car going down the highway and you're doing 80 miles an hour, and a little kid from the back seat starts unbuckling her seatbelt and coming up and trying to take over the wheel of the car. You would tell that kid to put her bottom down in the seat, buckle her seatbelt. No ifs, ands, or buts. Do not take over this vehicle because you're the adult. You're in charge. We're safe. I'm driving the car. I'm an adult. When you start to notice that wounded inner girl taking over your thoughts, see if you can't begin to sense it and be aware of it. It also may show up as the following: doom scrolling on the internet, where you're just scrolling and scrolling, looking for that next hit of feel good hormone, wasting tons of time, having a more deeper relationship with your phone and the algorithm than you are with your actual life. You may be in a relationship with an algorithm that's keeping you entertained on your phone. Be very careful with your phone. Limit your use as much as possible. Do you shop too much? Do you like, oh, I'm just feeling this feeling, and then suddenly you're on Amazon ordering a bunch of stuff you don't really need? Maybe you're overeating and you're trying to heal that part of you, because when you're eating, can't really run and hide from a dinosaur when you're eating. So if you're eating or you're drinking, you're safe. So you're telling your body, I'm safe right now because I'm eating. When in fact, really you're eating so your brain will begin to think it's feeling safe. You may also, there's a lot of other riskier things you might do to help yourself feel better: drugs, alcohol, sex, all sorts of things. Begin to become aware of when inner girl is hijacking you so that she will feel better. Because do 5-year-olds and 9-year-olds know how to make themselves feel better? No, they dial the operator. Or they open something sweet, or they bite their fingernails. They don't know sustainable ways to soothe themselves in adult situations. Okay. This last one, in terms of your senses, where you're following your gut, you're getting a sense, I want you to name it. If you can name what that feeling your gut is giving you, other than my gut is telling me something's wrong, name that feeling. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling really thirsty. I'm feeling my heart racing inside my chest. Start to name the sensations and feelings. That's a very different thing than like, I know something's wrong, I just know it. Because we're trying to identify those little nuanced situations that your antenna are picking up on from abandonment. So when you name it something like, I feel like I wish my guy would call more often. That's not a feeling. That's not naming a feeling, that's naming an action. So I want you to say instead, like, wow, I'm feeling really lonely tonight. I haven't heard from my partner in 2 nights. I'm feeling lonely. I'm missing connection. When I don't have connection, I start to not feel safe. So at the end of it all, this is my big takeaway about how you can really face that abandonment. It is through asking adult you the very important question: am I safe right now? Is anything really going on that should be frightening me? Am I just thinking frightening thoughts, or something real happening? Step 2, don't react. If the moment you start to feel frightened, you run for it, inner girl gets her way. That's how she would deal with it. She's 9 years old. You have to be very calm with yourself and go, you know what? We're really not in danger. I'm going to sit with this another minute, 1 minute. I'm going to try this for just a little while longer. I'm not going to react to it. And see if you can't begin to rely on adult you to take over instead of wounded girl. How can I provide safety for myself? Is this relationship actually meeting my needs? What are my needs? How often do I need to date someone? I teach something very important called the terms and conditions, or terms and agreements, where you can really get in touch with, like, is this what I really want? Is this what I really need? And you talk about it before you get in the relationship. And notice when inner girl takes over, and be aware if you are truly being too demanding and your pain story is kind of taking over the situation. And then you're going to sabotage your relationship. Okay, let's take a couple of questions from you all. I'm going to read through your comments. A lot of great comments. If you're watching this video in replay, make sure you definitely are able to read some of these. How can I better embrace the self-attention when it's so uncomfortable to focus on myself? That is such a great point because sometimes in the act of focusing on ourselves, we begin to feel very nervous because that means something's wrong. Now, I had a very similar thing happen to me when I first tried meditation, and I was having to slow my mind and breathe and focus on one thought at a time because that meant to me that something was wrong. If I'm having to slow down and focus on myself, I'm experiencing something is wrong is going on outside me. It happens to a lot of people, I think, when they first do deep breathing, relaxation exercises. Your body starts to resist it. It's so brand new to relax and do this. So, you're asking about self attention when it's uncomfortable to focus on yourself. So, if I'm wrong, correct me. But I think what this is really about is tiptoeing into this slowly. Set a timer on your phone, just 1 minute. I can just, am I safe right now? Am I feeling safe? Am I here with myself? Am I feeling connected? Okay. Her inner girl came out this weekend and almost ended an amazing relationship. Yes, it'll happen. You'll go back and you'll be like, whoa, I almost ended things because I was feeling this thing and I wanted to react to it immediately. And so, again, I talk a lot about a masculine energy, how masculine energy, gets you to take these actions. Uh, and it's like this dance between wounded inner girl and masculine boy helping you. He's very protective. I have another video that is about getting in touch with your wounded inner boy. So I'll be sure to post that in the link below. I'm glad you didn't end your relationship. Hi, how do I know if I'm too demanding in a relationship? So I don't think there's probably a woman alive that hasn't been accused of being too demanding. And you bring up such a good question. I'm so glad you did because if you have been attracted to another narcissistic abuser type because wounded inner girl is trying to fix that problem, she's attracted, she's drawn to these types of relationships because she wants to fix them. If she can fix this and solve this and it's familiar, oh boy, I didn't even talk about that and I meant to. Is that a lot of people we're drawn to are very familiar to us and they feel like home and they're comfortable. They also usually happen to be the best sex of your life. Can't get enough of them. Well, one of the reasons that's happening, it's familiar and it's like food for her. It's comfort for her because she can kind of like fix this. And so when you notice that that's happening, you're taking a look at your relationship, the person you're with will tell you, you are too demanding. You need too much attention. Has any man ever been able to give you all the attention you need? I actually had that said to me once by a guy. Has any guy ever been able to meet your needs? And I was like, I don't know. But now I'm in a very healthy relationship with someone and I love my time alone. I love my quality time. And in fact, I have to make sure I tune into my husband to give him attention. So, too demanding in a relationship, you want to think about, do I have an expectation or do I have preferences? And then what's a boundary? So, I have videos on preferences and boundaries. A preference is I would prefer that you open the door for me when we go out. A boundary is I cannot be in a relationship with a man who does not open the door for me. I will be out of this relationship. That is a fine line in the sand. It doesn't really make sense to have that as a boundary, does it? It might someone. I'm not going to judge, but you begin to notice the difference between your preferences, what I would prefer, and a boundary. And then you get in touch with how much quality time do I need? Do I need to date 2 times a week, 3 times a week? Do I like to have a text message every day? Part of dating someone is seeing how they respond and react. Okay. Check out Fem Tools for dating for anyone who is single. But that would be a good way to see if you are being too demanding. Is releasing emotion the same as reacting? When I cried, he came forward and wanted to fix it. Um, be careful with crying because wounded girl can use that to get attention. And don't get me wrong, it was my go-to. I used to like be hating myself and I would start crying. And I'd be like, shut up, like trying to dig my fingernails into my do anything, don't you start crying. And I would just get so overwhelmed with emotion that there was just no going back. There's no shutting it down. But you want to make sure you're not crying in order to get attention and in order to make something happen. But I do love that you cried and he came around. Um, and I wouldn't say crying is necessarily the same as not reacting. We're talking about that taking action. Like, give me your phone. Who's calling you? Or driving over to his house or demanding to know where he was, things like this. That would be taking action. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a time and a place that you do have to discuss this. But while you're attending to wounded inner girl, while you're figuring out how this works inside of you, I think it's good to kind of practice not reacting and observing because you may find, as someone else in the chat did, I almost broke up with this person, right? I almost broke up with them and I'm really glad I didn't. And so you begin to like kind of catch yourself before you do something. Look, anything that you need to do in a relationship, it can be done during a very neutral energy time, unless it is a life-saving type of thing. It can be done at a very neutral, calculated time where you are calm and you have all your resources. Not inner girl. Heather said, how can I come back from an inner girl freak out on my partner this weekend? My partner totally called me out on it and it set me from my behavior. And I know he's right. I feel ashamed of my actions. I'm going to keep you up there for a second. So I have a little bit of a gut problem with this. And this is just part of my intuitive stuff that I can do, is that I think you were really upset about something. And I'm concerned that the thing that you were really upset about has become explosive because you haven't been attending to those feelings in the first place. You've been kind of like pushing them down or doing what you thought might help with the problem. Heather, hit me up in the chat below. Let me know. And I want to get back. I want to circle back to you about that. Or if you're like, nope, it was just all me. I was having a freak out. Anne says, what to do when both your expectations keep running the show and can't be calm enough to get to expressing root needs. I find my husband very much in the drama triangle a lot because of reactions. So if you're both in that sympathetic place, that fight or fight place, one of the best ways that the two of you can help fix that is stop talking for a little while. Dial back the communication. See if you can't change up your routine. Are you always stepping on each other's toes at 5:30 when you come home and you're both in the kitchen? Can you kind of change up your routine a little bit? And then for you, Anne, you got to start really checking in away from him and asking you, like, am I safe? What am I feeling right now? What really needs attending to? Because if you turn down your dial, if you can calm down a little bit, he will calm down. One of the best things you can do for a person who's in a really activated place is to be peaceful. And when you're making that decision to bring that gift to the world, to be peaceful in a world of chaos, you don't need to seek out peace because you are peace. And see if you can't latch onto that idea and go with it and begin to just be peace for yourself. You will be peaceful for him. Okay. I wanted to there was one question before that. Nita says, how do you let your inner girl let a relationship develop naturally and not try to force anything? So if you think that that's inner girl, like pushing to hurry up and get her safety, I used to feel that way a lot, where I just wanted to hurry up and know, are we boyfriend and girlfriend? And hurry up and know, are we really together? And is this real? I can relax now. I don't have to be on the hunt anymore. So this is about, I only feel safe and connected when I'm in a relationship with a man. So again, I only feel safe and connected when I'm in a relationship with a man. It takes a man for me to feel valuable. It takes a man for me to feel like I have a quality of life, that I can finally relax. And that's not true. That's an illusion. That's something that you're believing and telling yourself, that once I feel safe in this relationship. So that hurrying up. So this is called the slow burn. And the slow burn is about letting it slowly burn and slowly unfold to make sure that that person is right for you. Because the relationship in and of itself is not going to be the thing that makes you feel good and wonderful. I had someone recently comment on a video of mine. It was the most like brilliant comment I think anybody's ever said. And she said, Adrienne, just because you can help women get their guy back doesn't mean their guy's going to be good to them or right to them. And I was like, that is so true. And I know that because before I teach you how to get a guy back, I teach you how to get in alignment with your core values. So once that happens, and I do get a lot of women's guys back, a ton of them, with the ABCs to Get Him Back program. But more than half, the guy comes back around and the girl is like, you know what? I'm good. I've become someone different. My core needs and my core requirements are in a different place. So, Nina, my question to you is, are you in touch with your core requirements, your core needs, and how they feel first? And then make sure you're having that rich, juicy life for yourself. And then that way you can like lean back and let the man show you what he can or cannot do. Okay, I'm going to look for Heather. Here we go. Heather says, so we're going back to Heather real quick. I feel like I'm not getting enough attention from him and I feel insecure, but I haven't been able to express it or he doesn't feel attacked. I'm not 100% happy, but I don't want to lose him. So now we're kind of going back to what I was talking about, which is I know my needs are not getting met. I'm aware of it, but I don't want to lose him either. So this is a very tricky place to be in, because how can I get more attention from someone who's supposed to be gradually increasing their intensity to how much they want me? So if you think about how a dating relationship happens and unfolds, and let me tell you, when I first learned this, I hated it. I didn't want anything to do with this concept because it wasn't what was happening in my life. But when a guy first starts dating you, he's calling, can't get enough of you, wants to see you again, making multiple dates, calls to make one date, makes another date, wants to see you more and more and more and more and more. It increases in intensity. You do hit a comfortable place where you go, this is feeling wonderful. Like, where do you see us going? Like, what's happening with us? We have that discussion about, well, I do want to be a wife one day. But if you're not getting enough actual dates, you're not getting enough time and attention with him, that means he's just not investing enough in the relationship. So you go back to the terms and conditions or terms and agreements, which is, in order for me to be in a committed relationship, I'm forsaking all other men to be just with you. For me to be in a committed relationship, it means that we date each other at least twice a week. We're together. We have sleepovers at least this many times a month. We travel. I can pick up the check once in a while. If you pick up, we split finances. You work it all out. Money, how often you date, sex, meeting each other's children, family. You can even talk about engagement, marriage, where you want to be in X number of years. You have that terms and conditions or terms and agreements conversation before you become exclusive. Because the guy will go, that'll really work for me, except there is no way with my job I can date somebody more than 2 days a week. I'm sorry, not going to happen. And I have my daughter every other weekend, so that ain't going to work. And you will quickly go, my God, I don't think this relationship's going to work for me. Something's going to have to change. So I want you to, Heather, my answer to you is go back and revisit the terms and agreements, because something's really upsetting you. And I think that you need to get in touch with, is this guy really meeting my needs? I get this one a lot. My guy and I broke up and got in a relationship 3 weeks later. He keeps reaching out to me using his kids as an excuse. How do I handle this? They always have a way of coming back, don't they, Brittany? Um, so how's your inner girl responding to this? Is she feeling a draw or a pull to reconnect with him? Is she feeling sorry for the children? Are you feeling some sort of empathy or emotional reaction to this? Try and get in touch with what she's feeling and then focus on adult you, which is fact based. Adult you focuses on facts. And do you want to rebuild with this guy? Do you want to repair with him? If so, you can start communicating with him. Okay, I'm going to take one last question here. Um, let's see here. There's so many good ones in here. There are a lot of good questions in here. And if I don't get your question, feel free to post it in the comments. Oh, this is a really good one. Okay, Daniela says, my partner leaves for Europe for 5 months for work reasons. I feel abandonment issues are coming up and I'm falling into the victim role. He wants me to visit, but it doesn't seem enough for me. So this is such a great example of, yeah, you should be feeling some sort of abandonment. You said he's your partner, but are you married? Daniela, answer me in the chat. Are you married to him? Are you just in a relationship? That makes a big difference. I have a couple of videos where I talk about how long distance relationships are just the worst for people. And I had a lot of military wives reach out to me and say, how dare you say that? My husband's in the military. I said, okay, I need to preface that with you're married. Because if you're married, we got that connection. We've got that safety. We are married. That's as good as it's going to get. We're married and we talk to each other all the time. Okay, if you've got to be away from me for 5 months, I can go visit you. I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to like being away, but I can do it. Danielle says, we are not. And that's part of the problem is that I'm going to leave the earth and I'm going to come back down and you're going to be there in 5 months. I'm not sure. I'm worried about that. You don't have that safety and connection. So what you're feeling is spot on. It's accurate. You should be feeling this way to some degree. Now it's just really about, can I somehow talk to myself and with my partner and get to a place where we can have enough connection for the next 5 months that I'm feeling good enough to stay in a committed relationship where I'm not married. I'm willing to lose having someone to have sex with and dinner and snuggle and do all our favorite things together. I'm willing to lose that for 5 months because I so believe in this relationship and we can come to this really secure and comfortable place together. So that's where the two of you have that conversation about what we're going to do, how we're going to communicate, and you get on the same page with that. Okay. All right. So they've been together 2 years. So Daniela, if you've been together 2 years, that's a long time to be a girlfriend. Long time to be a girlfriend in Adrienne Everheart's book. It's time to be like, where do you see it's going type of thing. So I feel you. So you see how this is really warranted. This sort of abandonment feeling really, really makes sense. All right, everyone. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things I shared with you in this process about healing inner girl and sabotaging your relationships. A lot of it is about knowing what you're feeling, which is what I teach, that awareness to know what you're feeling, reacting to it, responding to it versus like relying on yourself, making sure your core requirements are there and your core requirements are getting met. We've had 2 women in a row that have been like, they totally have reasons to be feeling feelings of abandonment. The point of this video is more about like you're feeling abandonment where abandonment isn't happening, or someone's telling you you shouldn't be feeling abandoned and you really are. They're kind of gaslighting you in that process, or you're drawn to people who naturally abandon you and are very aloof. I have a long history of men who were incredibly aloof and abandoned me and just however they wanted to be. at any time, and you didn't know, never knew. And I've actually made a huge mistake of letting one of them come back and work for me, because you know what? He did the same thing in terms of working for me. Just poof, gone. Don't know. I ask a question. I kind of get a little anger coming at me because I asked, you see? So that's when you know that you have that type of personality in your life, that they're punishing you for your very natural feelings of being alone, of being left behind. Or is it your imagination creating this? So you begin to be able to discern the difference. Now, I have courses out there that dive deeper into feminine energy. You can get all of them for one low price, and it includes my VIP library, which contains the book about healing wounded inner child. All right, everybody, I've loved being with you here today. If I didn't get to your question, hit me up below in the comments. Make sure you please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with a girlfriend who might need this message. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. It would mean the world to me. And I also have a podcast. If you ever want to listen to my podcast, it's called This Podcast is for Women. All right. I'm loving those thumbs up coming in. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm sending you lots of love. Mwah. Bye-bye.